So, not long ago, the word that came to me that needed to be deconstructed was conditioning. So, I love sports and I like being active. I am not an athlete. I am not as fit as I would like to be, but I enjoy exercising and doing things like that. So that might resonate with you, that might not. But the word conditioning hopefully will resonate with you. Um, Conditioning is something that we often do in sports or even in work. We're conditioning ourselves to become better at whatever it is we're doing in work. So another way to say that would be like behavioral modification. And if I am conditioning myself or I am modifying my own behavior because of a way that I feel called to grow, I think that's positive. I think that's a good thing. I used to be a teacher, and it always kind of unsettled me, the behavioral conditioning or behavioral training, behavioral modification strategy, or the conditioning strategy from the outside in. There are some things that kids need to practice, and process and policy are important things, but overall, their performance is not who they are. And I think it's more important to know who I am and what it means to be me than it is to act. And what I just found was the outside in, like an external person or an external program that conditions a person, is more about the perfection of that. And so I do feel like that can be a little bit overwhelming. So I felt that teaching, I feel that with my kids. So I was like, okay, I've never felt like that's like been right for me, but I don't know what to replace it with. So deconstructing that, reconstructing with disciple making. So if you are familiar with that term or not, basically disciple making is more about positive discipline. So growing a person or encouraging a person or holding a person accountable for their benefit, not for the outcome I want or for the betterment of the herd, but for the betterment of the person. So that's a different process. So if you've watched this at all, it's probably not a surprise that I am hopefully a faithful follower of Jesus Christ, and he made disciples, and that's what he wanted to do. He didn't want people to take on a persona or a performance or actions and then change that based on their environment. He was more concerned with, who are you? What is your identity? And in your identity, what are you called to do? So I just felt like that was challenging as a teacher and as a mom. And I've always said that. I've always said that it was important to me for my kids to know and love Jesus with their whole heart and their whole mind and their whole body. And it doesn't matter to me what they do for a living. It doesn't matter to me how much they do or don't make. It doesn't matter to me where they live. It doesn't matter to me if they get married or not, or have kids or not. What matters to me is that. And so if everything they do is rooted in that, then I feel like I've done my job. So for me, that is the answer to the conditioning or behavioral modification model, which is more results based, which is more works based, which is more performance based, which ultimately I think leads to a maybe one of two things. Like, I think it either leads to someone being really perfectionistic, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but like perfectionism leads to perfectionism, which of course is going to lead to feelings of not measuring up, because I've never met a perfect person, and I don't think you have either. But then the other thing I think that can happen is more of a not enoughness in their life. Like, if I'm not enough, then what's the point, right? So I think some people get propelled into perfectionism, and I'm always going to be achieving more, and eventually I'm going to get to that perfect thing. Or the opposite of like, I know I can never get to that perfect thing, so like, why even try? Where disciple making is not that. It's, I know who I am, I know what I'm called to do and why I'm called to do it, and I'm not going to get it right, but I am going to grow and learn and become along the way. So if you're deconstructing and reconstructing with me, I encourage you, if you are like wanting to discipline yourself for fitness or for spiritual growth or in your work, coming up with strategies that are healthy habits, that are holy habits, that are disciplines, will modify your behavior, and that's great. However, I think a culture of externally modifying people's behavior, or conditioning people for my benefit or my preference, just needs to be taken down in my life. And I am really grateful to be able to do that I can reconstruct in its place a desire to make disciples and a desire to connect with people and to really love them where they are and teach them how to learn where they need to go next and encourage them along the way. So hopefully that makes sense. And if it does, then enjoy the reconstructing.